Welcome, YouTube. Doing a quick video here on installing these Statin friction drive kits. Just what's kind of worked for me. I've been doing this a couple years now, and I've had them on like 4 or 5 different bikes, and learned a few little tricks and made some mistakes. There's some idiosyncrasies. But anyways, I'm going to shut up and just kind of show you really quick. First off, let's look at the Zenwa here. I changed bikes recently because it was worn out and I wanted front suspension. Potholes were getting to me with that skinny tire on the front. So the biggest thing I think that I found that you can make a mistake is these deals here, installing these. First off, you're going to want this thing straight this way and this way, and you're going to need spacers. It's always different frames hooking in. So you're going to need spacers here and there and everywhere. I've got this one kind of hooked up weird because I use this long skewer on here. I was too lazy to take it back off and use a different one, so I just left it on with the way it was set up. But it works. It's just sticking out. Looks a little goofy. But when it's relaxed, right now it's loosened up. When it's relaxed, you want these things to just be sitting straight up and have this filled with spacers. And when it comes time to just flip this and tighten it, you only want it to go in a little bit. And the reason for that is if the bike frame's hitting bumps and flexing going down the road at 30 miles an hour, you don't want it to put too much stress on this bottom bolt, because it will just snap this bolt. Don't ask me how I know. And what that happens is you've got this bar flipping around, and it's worse if it breaks this one. And that's where I made the mistake, is it was pushing in too tight, and it will take out some spokes and bend them and just be, yeah. Anyways, so you can also always install this thing on the inside or the outside, depending on what's going on up here. Doesn't matter. I've done it both ways on this side. And this side, you're going to want it on the outside, because you're not going to be able to use this bottom gear here on the cassette, you don't want to even really use these gears in case you end up going there accidentally. So just leave it in this second position if you want, or any position you want, and just don't even use it so you don't ever accidentally go in there. And just use the front derailleur, and you'll get along just fine with just those 3 gears or 2 gears or 1 gear, whatever you have. So there's 2 mistakes you can make, is having this too far torqued in and flipping into this gear here where this extension rod hangs in. You don't want to do those 2 things. Mix your oil on this Zenwa. I use 32:1, and I've been using Bel-Ray 2-stroke oil and pre-mixing it and putting it in cans and storing it, and carrying a little canister with me. Fill this up. It lasts like 20 miles, I think, and then the canister you get another 20, depending on what size it is. So I get about 40 to 50 miles somewhere in there, because the canister will have a little extra when I'm done filling it the second time. So yeah, that's a couple of things there. And let's see, you also want to put spacers in the front if you need them. Some bikes don't need it, I've noticed. This is like one of them that did need it. And let's look at this bike here. Let's see, did it need it? No, this didn't need anything here. And this looks crooked because this rack's crooked, but anyway, the whole motor thing is straight. Here's the other thing that really is important. You're going to want to find these things. The skewer here is an ABP skewer. It's 210 millimeters, and there's 1 or 2 people selling them on eBay, and they also find them online. They're $31, but you need it on a lot of bikes. The only bike I had that didn't was a really crummy 26-inch bike that I initially did on this to try these motors out on a Chinese one of these motors, and it didn't need it because the frame was so simple and it just was thinner. But every other bike pretty much has needed the longer skewer, especially these 700 wheels or 29s. And here's the same thing here. Can't use the bottom gear. So the other thing, let's see, what else do we got? Let's see, when you're hooking this up, you want to go really slow and evenly on these 3 bolts. In fact, I got one loose there. I should go down and double check all these bolts on these. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, always kind of once in a while check your stuff out. You want to use lots of zip ties. Get all your wiring good. Lots of zip ties. Can't go wrong. Redundancy. And I got a little desert tank for this thing. I'm gonna go climb Mount Rainier with this thing on the road here soon. We're finally, first day, feels like summer here in the Northwest. So I put 2 kickstands on because I had extra kickstands, and it is a lot more stable. These bikes will fall over on you because of the weight occasionally, and if you're not real careful. Get a mirror if you're riding through the city. They're very nice. Motorcycle mirrors work great if you customize the bracket, especially when you go under the bar. It's a lot cleaner look behind you. Let's see, one other thing is when you're tightening this down against the wheel, pushing down, to know how hard to push down, a good way to check it before you take off on the bike is to kind of stand next to your bike and give it gas. And if it just spins the back wheel, hold the bike back so it doesn't go. And if it just spins, okay, I got to retorque it down tighter. You don't have to go crazy pushing this down, but you want to push some weight down on it. You got to, get a little bit of shoulder into it, and then just clamp it down right there. Let's go to this one. You'll clamp it down. I have to tighten to spin this. I don't want to put the camera down. Anyways, you want to push down, just kind of like putting my weight, my shoulder on there, and push it down. Sometimes you might want to hold the motor and push it over if it's a heavier motor a little bit, but then once it's good and you go check it, give it gas, and the bike will want to do a little bit of a wheelie when you're standing next to it, then it's tight. And it should stay tight for many miles until you hit some nasty pothole on the road, and occasionally that'll happen if you're going fast and you hit something nasty, and all of a sudden you'll realize you're not going as fast because it's spinning on the tire. These don't work good in the rain at all. You're basically just driving a bicycle. You'll just want to either leave the motor running and just be real gentle on the throttle and ride it home, or just lift it up and ride it like a bike and turn the motor off. And let's see, what else can I talk about? Motors performance wise between this GX50 and the Zenwa, they're almost identical. They both do a little over 30 cruising down the road, wide open. The Zenwa's lighter, climbs hills better, accelerates a little bit better, but I like the Honda at full throttle. It's got a little nicer, little less harsh tone. Not that this Zenwa sounds bad or is harsh really, but driving it at like 80% is makes a big difference listening to it loudness. So when I'm on a trail, I do, when I go by people, I don't go by them full throttle because I really don't want to see these things get outlawed. And because it's just been so nice, especially with gas prices right now. Also at nighttime, I try to have, redundancy again, like with the zip ties. I have 2 lights. This is a Revtronic. It's great. They make a good product. And then this one's a cheaper eBay, Amazon one. It's not bad for the money. It's a Tay-Rich, and they got other names for it, of course, like everything on eBay. And it's okay. It's not as good as the Revtronic. And then this is probably the best light. I like this one a lot. It's on my helmet. Let's get it. It's a Nightcore, and it's basically just a regular light, and I've got a head strap for it, and I zip tied it on there. And you can change the battery with a 18650, and I can ride the bike with either this helmet or that, but I use both so they don't get overheated, and I got plenty of light to go down the road at top speed, however fast I want to go. Anyway, also changing the oil on this GX50 is a bit of a pain because there's no drain plug. You got to tip the bike up, put it on something, and then you just drain it out of here, or you could get a siphon kit. But I've just been tipping the bike all the way back and siphoning it out that way, or draining it out. Also, one other thing is when you're putting this in, when you're hooking your bike up, you might need to get a Dremel out. So you can see here, I had the Dremel, and I was real careful, and I could have cut the bolt shorter, but I couldn't use a regular. See how tight that is. That's just too, you can't put a regular one on there like the original here. It's just not feasible. So yeah, and try to get good tires, put a little more money and weight into it. Or actually I got 4 of these free. They're Nimbus flak jackets. They're an older tire. They probably don't make them anymore. It's 1.5 inch width, and I've never went thinner than that, but I imagine it would work as long as your takeoff speed isn't you know, the ability to take off by the thinner tire. See where you're compromised. You know, thinner, it's not going to take off as good. The wheel's going to want to spin. Wider would work just fine. I just ended up getting these free, and I like them. It's a compromise. They take a good amount of pressure. I can't remember, it might be, I usually just put 60-70 pounds of pressure in. Yeah, so hope to get another 7,500 miles out of this, but I really don't think I will. But all right, we got nice weather, so I'm gonna go for a bike ride. I'm gonna head out to Seattle or something and go get some beers later.